Shalom, my dear ones. Come, sit a little closer to the fire. My name is Aaron Schwartz. You know, when you pass 60, your eyesight may start to fail you, but strangely enough, you begin to see what hides behind the widest smiles and the sweetest words. You learn to tell real gold from cheap gilding and true bread from an empty wrapper. I was born in a small town where doors weren't locked at night and a neighbor was closer than a brother. At 20, I believed life was like a train station. The more noise, the more visitors, the richer you were. I gave my heart away left and right. I shared my last piece of bread with anyone who slapped me on the shoulder and called me friend. My grandfather was a shoemaker. His back was always bent, a small hammer in his hand, and eyes that could see straight through a man. One day I burst into his workshop, nearly choking with excitement. "Grandpa, you can't imagine how many friends I have. We're going to move mountains." He put aside the unfinished shoe, wiped his hands on his apron, and said so quietly that even the mice seemed to hold their breath, "Aaron, listen to an old man. It's better to have one loyal dog who growls in the dark than 10 peacocks who scatter the moment the storm clouds gather. Not everyone who drinks tea with you wishes you a good morning." Back then, I just snorted. The old man's grumbling again, I thought. But life is a teacher who never repeats the lesson twice. She simply strikes you across the face until you learn. I paid for that wisdom with years of betrayal, a ruined business, and secrets that were stolen from me. Today I am 63. My hair is white like the snow on Mount Hermon, but my gaze is sharp as a razor. I have prepared 7 tests for you, 7 sieves through which you must sift the people around you. These tests will tear off masks faster than decades of friendship ever could. But I ask you, listen to this story until the very end. In the finale, I will reveal the main secret, the truth I understood too late when I was already past 50. That key would have saved me 20 years of my life and an ocean of tears. Knowing the truth about people is only half the battle. The real courage lies in acting according to that truth, even when your heart screams in pain. Pour yourself a strong cup of tea. Get comfortable. We are beginning a conversation that may save your future from my mistakes. Test number 1. Silence, the mirror of the soul. Let's begin with something simple but precise as my grandfather's old clock. I call it the test of silence. Here is the essence. In the middle of a conversation, when you've just finished your thought, or when someone interrupts you, simply fall silent. Don't nod, don't encourage, don't rush to fill the space with another question. Just look calmly into the other person's eyes and hold the pause. Silence will tell you more than a confession ever could. You see, most people aren't having a dialogue. They're just waiting for their turn to speak. To them, you are not a person. You're a pair of available ears, background scenery for their grand performance. If your silence hangs in the air and the person immediately keeps chattering about themselves, their problems, their victories, without even noticing you've stopped talking, then you are not looking at a friend. You are looking at a consumer. But if they stop, if they catch your gaze and ask, "Aaron, what do you think? And you, how are you?" Hold on tightly to that person. They see a human being in you, not a prop. A real example. When I was 19, I had a best friend, loud, charismatic, the life of the party. My grandfather told me, "Aaron, tomorrow just walk beside him and say nothing." We walked for 2 hours,
2 full hours he talked about his plans, about girls, about his argument with his father. Not once did he ask why I was quiet. When we parted, he slapped me on the shoulder and said, "Great talk, you're a real friend." I watched him walk away and felt robbed. I was nothing more than furniture in his one-man theater. Since then, I no longer waste time on those who cannot hear my silence. My friends, think for a moment. Is there someone in your life after whose company you feel drained, as if they've squeezed every last drop of juice out of you? If yes, leave a single dot in the comments, just a dot. I will understand that you've walked this road too, and we will move forward together. Test number 2, the forgotten debt, the price of honor. Now we come to a subject that makes many people clench their teeth: money. It is the finest litmus test of integrity. Have you noticed that strange feeling? You lend someone a small item or a small sum. Weeks pass, they smile at you, shake your hand, tell jokes, but not a word about the debt. And somehow it's you who feels embarrassed, not them. You're afraid to remind them, afraid to offend. Remember this, it's a trap designed for decent people. Money is not just paper, it is the material form of your life's time. You spent hours earning it, hours away from your family, hours of fatigue and effort. When someone takes it and does not return it, they steal a piece of your life that will never come back. The test is simple. Lend the person an amount you can afford peace of mind, or give them something valuable to you, a book, a tool, and then remain silent. Don't hint, don't remind, just observe. This is where the true face is revealed. If a person forgets a small debt, know this: they will betray you in a larger matter at the first opportunity. An honest person will return it on time, or come to you and say plainly, "My friend, things are tight right now. Give me another week." But the one who avoids your eyes or pretends nothing happened, that is simply a thief hiding behind the mask of friendship.
There are 2 possible outcomes. The first, a person returns the debt on their own, without any reminder, perhaps even with an apology for the delay. That means the person has an inner core, something called conscience. Their word carries weight. Your labor matters to them. But there is a second option. The person forgets. They hope you'll be too embarrassed to ask. They are testing your boundaries. And the moment you realize someone is playing this game, rejoice. Yes, rejoice. You have just bought the truth at a very small price. A person who can forget a small debt will absolutely betray you in a larger matter. Let me tell you a story that unfolded right before my eyes. In our neighborhood, there was a man named Boris, the life of every gathering, always in a crisp shirt. He could speak so beautifully that women would tear up and men would rush in for an embrace. One day, Boris came up to me and said he had left his wallet at home and urgently needed to pay for something. The amount was small. For me, it was just a couple hours of work. Of course, I gave it to him. He shook my hand and said, "Aaron, tomorrow morning I'll bring it back. Word of honor." Tomorrow came. Boris did not. A week passed. I ran into him on the street. He was walking with a bouquet of flowers, laughing. When he saw me, he didn't flinch. He came up, patted me on the shoulder, asked about my wife's health, about the children. I stood there and waited. I thought, any second now he'll slap his forehead and say, "Oh, Aaron, forgive me, here's your money." But he didn't. He talked about the weather and walked away. I decided not to remind him. In my mind, I simply gifted him that money and placed a huge red cross over his name. For me, that man ceased to exist as a partner, as a friend, as a reliable pillar. 3 years passed. Boris started a big business.
He walked around the neighborhood collecting investments, promising golden mountains. His charm worked flawlessly. People handed him their savings. He came to me, too, inviting me to invest. If not for that forgotten debt, I probably would have agreed. But as I looked at him, I didn't see a promising businessman. I saw the man who stole 2 hours of my life's work and never even blushed. I refused him firmly. 2 months later, Boris disappeared, simply evaporated along with all the neighbors' money. People cried. They cursed the day they believed his smile. And I sat at home drinking tea, thinking how cheaply I had escaped. That small sum became the price of my safety. Test number 3, the extra change. We're used to thinking that a thief is someone who breaks locks or slips a hand into a pocket. But the real test comes when stealing is easy, safe, and almost accidental. Imagine this. You and an acquaintance go into a store or a cafe. A tired cashier makes a mistake in your favor, gives back more change than required. And here is the moment of truth. What does your companion do? There are 2 paths. The first is the path of integrity. The person notices the error and immediately returns the extra money. "Excuse me, you made a mistake." Why? Not because they're afraid, but because they respect another person's labor. They don't want what is not theirs. But there is a second option. The person sees the extra bills, and in their eyes a predatory spark ignites. They quickly slip the money into their pocket and whisper, "Look at that, lucky day." Then they begin to justify it. "Oh, this store is rich anyway. Maybe it's a lesson for the careless cashier." Remember this, if a person rejoices at someone else's mistake and pockets what does not belong to them, run. That person is a looter. Today, they take the extra coin because the cashier looked away. Tomorrow, when you look away or when you fall ill, they will take your share of the business, your idea, even your place in the sun. Their honesty exists only out of fear of punishment, not from conscience. Test number 4, the change of plans. Now we will speak about freedom and about the cage some people try to put us in, often the ones closest to us. This is a test of how a person sees you, as a living soul with your own will, or as a comfortable piece of furniture in the living room of their own life.
You know, there are 2 possible endings to a story about debt. The first, when a person returns everything on their own, down to the last penny. Maybe they even blush because they were a day late. That's a person with what I call a higher education in conscience. Their word is a promissory note that will always be honored. With someone like that, you can go into battle or build a home. But there's the second option. The person forgets. He walks past you, laughs, eats his ice cream, and quietly hopes that you're a decent person, and therefore you'll stay silent. He tests your softness the way people tap a ripe watermelon to see if it's ready. And if you catch him in this forgetfulness, rejoice, truly. You've just purchased the truth about a scoundrel at a discount. You paid a small price to keep him from entering your life in a big way. The lesson of Boris. We had a man in our neighborhood, Boris. Oh, what a performer he was. His shirts always starched, his voice smooth as velvet. Women wept at his toasts, men rushed to hug him. One day he came to me. "Aaron, help me out. I left my wallet at home and need to pay urgently. I'll bring it tomorrow morning, word of honor." The amount was trivial, just a couple hours of my work. I gave it without hesitation. Tomorrow came, then the day after tomorrow. No Boris. A week later I saw him on the boulevard, walking with a bouquet, glowing with joy. He spotted me and didn't even blink, patted me on the shoulder. "Aaron, my dear, how are the children? How's your health?" I stood there waiting. I thought now he'll slap his forehead, apologize, return the money. But Boris chatted about the weather and walked away. I didn't remind him. I simply drew a large red cross over his name in my mind. 3 years passed. Boris launched a great business, collecting investments from the entire neighborhood, promising golden mountains. People gave their last savings. He came to me as well. If not for those forgotten coins 3 years earlier, I probably would have invested. But as I looked at him, I didn't see a businessman. I saw a petty thief who had stolen 2 hours of my life and never even blushed. I refused. 2 months later, Boris vanished, disappeared along with everyone's money. People cried, they cursed his name, and I sat on my balcony drinking tea, grateful for that old debt. That small amount had become my insurance policy.
Test number 3. The extra change. We tend to think a thief is someone who climbs through a window with a crowbar. But true rot reveals itself where stealing is easy, safe, and accidental. Imagine this. You're at a cafe with an acquaintance. A tired waitress makes a mistake and brings more change than she should. There it is, the moment of truth. The path of honor. The person notices the mistake and returns the money, not out of fear of the police, but out of respect for someone else's work. What isn't theirs, they don't need. The path of the predator. A spark flashes in their eyes. They quickly pocket the money and whisper, "Look at that, lucky day. The fool got what he deserved." Remember this well. If a person delights in someone else's mistake and pockets what isn't theirs, run. That is a looter. Today he takes the cashier's extra coin. Tomorrow, when you fall ill or turn your back, he'll take your share of the business, your idea, or your place in the sun. His honesty exists only where there's no safe opportunity to steal.
Test number 4. Change of plans. A cage or freedom. Now we speak of something more subtle. Your right to be yourself. This test will reveal how a person sees you, as a living soul or as comfortable furniture in the living room of their own life. There are people, dictators. They make plans for you. Tomorrow we're going to the movies. On Saturday we're visiting my mother. It may sound like care, but try saying no. Try changing the plan at the last moment for a valid reason. If the person replies, "Of course, I understand. Rest is important. We'll reschedule." That is a friend. But if you're met with hurt pride, manipulation, or anger, "I was waiting for this. You ruined everything." Know this, you are not loved. You are being used. You are a function meant to operate on someone else's schedule. Remember, anyone who does not respect your right to say no will never respect your right to happiness. My friends, we've already traveled more than halfway. Do you feel faces rising in your mind? Do you feel the puzzle beginning to click into place? If so, give this video a like. Let our conversation reach those who may be hurting right now from betrayal. Let them learn how to protect themselves. We've covered 4 tests, but 3 more lie ahead, and they are the deepest of all. We will speak about how people behave in the light of someone else's success and how they respond to your weakness. And most important of all, do you remember the final secret I discovered only at 50? It is close now. Are you ready to continue? Life, my friends, is not a blueprint drawn with a ruler. It is a rushing river. Today the sun is shining, and tomorrow the sky is covered with heady clouds, and your heart feels so burdened that all you want is to lie down and stare at the ceiling. That's normal. To be alive means to be flexible, to bend with the winds of fate. But there are people for whom your changes feel like a personal insult. They have built a cage for you in their mind, and they expect you to sit inside it quietly. The test is simple. One day, change an arrangement. Not out of spite, but for a real human reason. Say, listen, we plan to meet tomorrow, but something's come up. My heart isn't at peace, or I've got a terrible headache. Let's reschedule. And then pause. Listen, not with your ears, but with your heart. A person who truly cares about you will say, that's a shame. I was looking forward to it. But what matters is you. Are you okay? Do you need help? Rest. We'll talk later. For them, you are more important than the meeting. A hidden tyrant will react differently. You'll hear ice in their voice or an explosion of anger. They'll try to plant guilt inside you. I booked the table. I canceled things for you. You always ruin everything. Notice something. They didn't ask what happened to you. They don't care whether your house is burning or your heart is breaking. You simply disrupted their script. You stepped out of the role they assigned you. Such people turn friendship into a high-security prison. You'll find yourself showing up with a fever of 104 degrees just to avoid their reproach. That's not closeness. That's slavery. The story of Ephraim. I once had a companion named Ephraim, a human machine, his entire year scheduled in advance. We planned a trip to the hot springs. 2 days before departure, my daughter called in tears. My grandson was sick and she needed help. I dialed Ephraim with trembling hands. I expected a sigh of disappointment. Instead, I got struck by lightning. Ephraim shouted so loudly I had to pull the phone away. Your grandson could have waited. You're ruining my schedule. You're selfish. In that moment, I understood something. I wasn't friends with a man. I was friends with a function. I was just a part inside his perfect machine. I said, Ephraim, I'm not going with you. Not now, not in a year. Because for you, my grandson is a system error. For me, he is life. We never spoke again. I lost a reliable travel partner, but I gained the freedom to remain alive. Test number 5. Fatigue, the mask, and the director. Now we reach the line where upbringing ends and bare essence begins. You see, when a person is well-fed, well-rested, and everything is going smoothly, it's easy to be charming. That's just social clothing we put on in the morning. But a person's soul is not what they show at the parade. A soul is what remains when they no longer have the strength to pretend. Self-control is like a muscle. When someone is extremely tired, that muscle weakens, and then the one who has been sitting in the cage all day steps out. Many people excuse rudeness by saying, "Oh, don't mind him, he's just tired." No, fatigue does not create cruelty. It simply unlocks the door. If your companion, exhausted, begins humiliating the weak, snapping at waiters, or digging up old resentments, understand this: that is their true face. The pleasant conversationalist in the morning is an actor. The monster who appears at night is the director of their life. Never tie your destiny to someone who fails this test. Life is not a sunny beach. There will be illness, financial hardship, sleepless nights. In those moments, you need someone who, even in exhaustion, will extend a hand, not someone who will turn your shared misfortune into a battlefield. My friends, this conversation is growing more serious. I can almost feel how deeply these words are resonating within you. If you sense that this knowledge is exactly what you've been missing to make sense of your own life, subscribe to the channel. Here, we are learning not merely how to survive, but how to preserve our dignity among people. Become part of this family. We've walked through 5 tests already, but ahead of us are the 2 most dangerous ones. We will speak about the poison of success and the test of weakness. And of course, the secret I promised you at the beginning, the one I understood only at 50. It will overturn everything you thought you knew about friendship. Are you ready to hear the truth to the very end? Test number 6. The waiter test. Mask and power. Listen to an old man. A person's true character is never revealed in how they treat the powerful. With a boss, a wealthy partner, or anyone who might be useful, even a scoundrel can be charming. He will bow, flatter, laugh at the dullest joke. That is not kindness. That is survival instinct. The real face appears only when someone deals with a person who cannot fight back, the small person, the waiter, the cleaner, the taxi driver. To the arrogant, such people are invisible. Watch how your companion places an order. Do they look the person in the apron in the eye? Do they say, "Thank you"? Or do they keep talking on the phone, pointing at the menu as if there isn't a living soul standing there but a vending machine? If the one who just showered you with compliments suddenly turns and scolds the waiter in a cold, contemptuous tone, understand this: you are looking at a tyrant. Today he is a tyrant to the waiter because the waiter is weaker. Give him power over you, become his spouse, his dependent friend, his employee, and that same icy, cutting tone will one day fall on your head. Test number 7. The free ears. Slavery to the ego. There is loneliness in an empty room, and in that loneliness there can be peace. But there is a far terrible loneliness with someone else. It is when you sit across from a friend, talk for 2 hours, and walk away feeling erased from reality. A living conversation is like a game of catch. I throw, you catch. You throw, I catch. But some people only know how to throw stones. They use you as a mirror to admire their own reflection. Run a simple test. After meeting them, ask yourself honestly, how many times in that hour did they ask about my life? If out of 60 minutes, 55 were their monologue, you are not in a relationship. You are in servitude to someone else's ego. Such people drain you dry, leaving behind only a heavy head and a hollow emptiness. The Great Revelation. The secret I learned at 50. Now, my friends, listen carefully to the truth for which I brewed this tea. It is bitter as wormwood, but it saves lives. You cannot change people. This is the greatest illusion of youth, believing that with enough love, patience, or money, we can fix someone. We think, if I am kind enough, he will understand. If I give one more chance, she will change. I lost 20 years trying to rescue partners who deceived me and stay loyal to friends who saw me only as a shoulder to cry on. And do you know what I received in return? Emptiness. A person changes only when life strikes them so hard that they can no longer remain the same. Your tears and persuasion are just background noise to them. If you try to save someone who is dragging you to the bottom, you will not rescue them. You will simply drown together. This is not cruelty. This is the wisdom of survival. If a drowning man in panic grabs your throat and pulls you under, you must push him away, swim to shore, and throw him a rope from solid ground. Real help begins with staying afloat yourself. Emptiness as a gift. When I understood this at 50, I looked back and saw a desert of wasted years. So I began pulling the splinters from my heart. I closed the doors to the forgetful debtors, the perpetual complainers, the hidden tyrants. At first, there was silence, frightening silence. I thought I was completely alone. But then I realized emptiness is not the end. When you remove the trash from a room, it feels empty. But only an empty room can be filled with light, with good furniture, with worthy guests. In place of those who drained my blood came people who know how to listen, who repay debts, who respect my no. Ancient wisdom says, the Almighty does not build a temple on a swamp. If you want happiness to enter your life, you must first drain the swamp around you. Do not fear silence. It is the pause between inhale and exhale. it heals. I have lived 63 years. I have made 1,000 mistakes. And today I stand before you and ask only this. Guard your time. It is more precious than gold. Do not spend it on those who cannot see your value. Life is too beautiful to live it among those who drag you down. Drain the swamp, release the unnecessary, and wait. Your temple will be built. If this conversation has lit even a small spark in your heart, do two things. Write the word freedom in the comments if you are ready to let go of those who pull you down. Let it be your first step. And share this video with someone who is hurting right now. Perhaps your link will be the rope thrown from the shore. Take care of yourselves. Shalom.